there is a flourishing of Israel's diplomatic relations. You can see it in the pictures. Mr. Modi and I are wading in good waters. Mr. Trump and I are walking on an important path together. The Prime Minister of Australia is here. We commemorated 100 years of the liberation of Beersheba, which led to the liberation of Jerusalem from Ottoman yoke. This is evident by 300 world leaders who visited Israel, 1,800 international, we call them influencers, people who command great influence in their countries. These numbers are important. They represent an important increase. Could you show the next slide? We have diplomatic relations with 159 countries, 103 consulates, 77 embassies. It's lack of budgets. Otherwise, we'd have an embassy in just about every one. There are about 200 countries in the world. It would be wrong to say that the other 40 or so countries we don't have relations with. We do. We have relations nearly with every single one of them for reasons that are important for them and reasons that are important for us. This is unprecedented. It takes Israel out of the proposed myth of isolation into a tsunami of diplomatic, economic, security, and technological ties. Next. That's 21 foreign visits across 6 continents that I've had this year, including the leaders of all the major continents and all the major powers, all the P5, the Security Council, senior 5 members and permanent members, and of course many, many others. Please. This is a map that shows in blue the new agreements that we established or new understandings that we established in the last year alone. You can see it's quite an expanse. It includes Muslim countries. I think Turkey should not be there, by the way, as far as I know. I'm not sure we have, no, just a factual thing. I'm not sure that we have any new arrangement with Turkey. But we have had new agreements with Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and of course the many countries that you see around the globe. This is, there's something very big happening here. Please, go ahead. It's also happening in the Arab world. I think we are doing surveys across the continents, and we're looking and we see the response by the public. This is internet queries, and you can see that in the Arab world there is a clear change in the way that they view Israel, that they think that ties with Israel will benefit their countries. That is a very...
I'm so very thank you to attend this kind of events. Also, I have that experience as also last year. This experience I already been, but I already been only 1 year and 6 months in Israel, almost 1 year and 6 months. So JPOS, this is my window to see the world, especially your country. What's the situation in your country is I always confront with JPOS. And every mornings I get up with all the world. I see the early television program, World Channel. Then when I arrive at the office, I check everything with confirmed with JPOS. Everything is finished. I certify this information into my brain and heart to decide. Not only brain, plus heart to decide what thing is going on.
We expect the international community to support President Trump's decision. The second crossroad is about Syria. Iran wants to turn Syria into a forward base against Israel and the Sunni countries in the region. It wants to export the Shiite revolution using proxies like Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran wants to create a corridor between Tehran, Baghdad, Damascus, and Beirut. If Iran bases itself militarily in the Middle East, it will lead to contact instability in the region.
How is France coping with terrorism today?
Thank you. Yes, it was a very sad moment, and this wave of terrorism we had in France since 2015 was a bit different from the previous ones of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Firstly, because of the casualties, as you said, more than 250 people have been killed in 2 years in France only. Second, because it's not only in France, it's a European and even a world wave of terrorism. And third, because even if the orders, or some of the orders, or the organization were coming from abroad, and specifically from Syria, the perpetrators were French people. So it was a grassroots terrorism, which is something different from the previous time we were coping with terrorism. What we did first is to launch a military operation in Syria and Iraq, Shamal operation, to target specifically the cells of ISIS who were ordering mass murder in France.
If you had looked at the graph, if anyone can put back Netanyahu's graph of sympathy, I noticed something very interesting. Our drop in sympathy and the Palestinian height of sympathy was at the very moment in 2005 where we gave up parts of Israel. You'd expected that if we're so nice and we're carving out parts of our country, handing it over, you'd see a jump in sympathy. But in fact, the world respects strong countries who believe in themselves, and the world looks down to countries who are willing to give up their homeland. That's the reality. So you do gain sympathy for a couple of days, but quickly thereafter, you gain derision by carving up your country.
We are the largest Zionist green organization in the world, and we are also the operational arm of the Jewish people in Israel. And we have a variety of projects that we do throughout the country and even around the world, where we're helping and transferring knowledge to other countries. But basically, we are a sustainable development organization who worries about creating a better Israel for tomorrow.
I would like to say, with your permission, that besides my wife, my children and grandchildren, 4 are the great privileges I have been granted in my life. The first one, when my father, being the president of the Zionist Federation of Chile, considering that he had to preach with the example, decided in 1958 to make Aliyah to Israel. For me and my family, living in Israel is the highest privilege that makes us part of the daily doing of the state. The second one, to be appointed by Prime Minister Menachem Begin and Foreign Relations Minister Yitzhak Shamir, Ambassador of Israel to Colombia, and serve my country by representing it. The third one, to be elected head of the Immigration and Absorption Department of the Executive of the Jewish Agency, and serves as such during the Operation Moses and the liberation and Aliyah of most of the prisoners of Zion. The fourth one, to be, together with the late Alberto Moscona Nissim, the late Sol Dulson, and may he live long, Aryeh Dubson, one of the founders of Pras Emet and the architect of its legal structure and relationship with the Prime Minister of Israel and its office.